All right, so we are going to be doing the second half. So y'all's homework will be numbers 1 through 10. We are going to work numbers 11 through 20 together. Again, there is a video going through the first 10 if you need help or if you want to check your work tonight. Make sure we're doing those right. Make sure we're ready for our 9 weeks test, which is on Thursday. All right. So for number 11, starting with number 11, we're adding decimals because 8.1 has a decimal, but 13 does not. What is my rule for adding decimals? What is the rule just for adding decimals? Jason? I have to have my decimals line up, but 13 doesn't have a decimal, so what am I going to have to do, Madison? Add a decimal at the end. Remember, a decimal looks like a period. It works like a period, except for instead of at the end of a sentence, it goes at the end of a number. So I put 13 and a decimal point there. Are we okay with that? All right, I'm going to go ahead and write my 8.1. And I'm going to go ahead and put my decimals in a straight line. Y'all see how I've lined the decimals up? I haven't even worried about the numbers. All right, the second decimal here. What's going to go in front of that second decimal, Gage? 13. I can tell where that would be since I've already written the decimal in. All right, so we're ready to add these, but before I add them, I might want to put something else in there. Ethan? Yeah, let's just put a 0 after that so all my numbers have something to line up. All right, we don't need to put 1 in front of the 1 or above the 1. That's fine. All right, so 1 plus 0 is?
1.
8 plus 3 is?
11.
Carry the 1. 1 and 1 is? 2. So I get 2, 1, 1. Jake? Make sure we bring that decimal straight down in the line. Jake?
What if you did it 13 point and then 8.1?
That's okay. Just be careful. You can change the order on addition, but I've also seen people try to do it on subtraction. I would prefer for us not to change the order just so we don't make that mistake. Okay, the only thing I want us to change the order on possibly would be multiplying. Jackson?
So when we're doing the whole numbers plus the decimal number, can we just add the whole numbers and the number after the decimal?
That's a great way to mentally check your work. Just make sure you line it up to show me the work on your paper. All right? Number 12. Number 12, it's division. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my division house. All right, when I set up this problem, what's going to be at the door? What's going to be at the door? Juanita? 0.13. So then in the house, we're going to have to put our 293.8. All right? So we set up the division problem. What do I need to do that's special about my decimals? Micah?
You need to move the decimal and 0.13 over to make it just this.
So I need to move this over twice to make it 13. If I move it twice at the door? Twice in the house. So what is that going to do when I try to move it twice in the house? What's going to happen there? Raise your hand. What's going to happen in the house? Gage? Jake? We're going to have to add a 0 in that space that it made. And also raise that decimal to the roof so it's all the way at the end of the number. All right, so now we're ready to divide 13 into this. Some people, like 13 is kind of a number that we don't know our multiplication facts about very well. So we might want to go to the side. You can skip count or you can do your multiplying over to the side. So after 13 would be 26. After 26 would be 39. After 39, we would probably need to add more to that. We'll just leave it like that for right now and then we'll come back to it if we need to, okay? So can 13 go into 2? I'm going to put a little X there so I know not to put a number on top of 2. Can 13 go into 29?
Yes.
How many times? Twice, and I can see that right here in my skip counting. So I'm going to put a 2 on top of the 9. 2 times 13 is? 26. When I subtract, I get 3. Let's bring down the next number. How many times will 13 go into 33? Twice. I see that. I can't do 39, so that's going to be twice again. 2 times 13 is? 26. When I subtract, can I do 3 minus 6? No. So I'm going to borrow. So that becomes 2. 13 minus 6 is 7. And 2 minus 2 goes away. So let's bring down the next number. There's 8. All right. So I need to decide how many times 13 will go into 78. So I need to skip count some more. So So I can add 13 to that, or I can just multiply 13 times 4. Either way, what am I going to get? 52. Awesome. Okay, can I get closer? Yeah. When I add 13 to that, what does that give me? 65. Can I get closer? Let's try. So add 13 to that. That gives me 78. Can I get closer than 78? No, that's the exact number. So how many times did 13 go into that? 1, 2, 3, 6. Okay? So I'm going to put 6 on top of the 8. 6 times 13 is? When I subtract, I get? So there's nothing left over. So I'm done. No? Why not? What's going on here, Juanita? Yeah, there's still a number here. So I still technically need to bring that down. How many times will 13 go into 0? 0. And guys, I'm fine if you just put a 0 up here. If you don't do the subtraction here, that's fine because it just gives me 0. So my answer here is 2,260. Do I even need the decimal? No, it was at the end, so it really didn't matter. All right, are there any questions about 11 or 12? All right, so let's move down to number 13. We have a subtraction problem here. All right, so again, it's a whole number. What am I going to do for that whole number? Alexis, what am I going to do for the whole number, though? Number 13.
You put a decimal after 6.
Put a decimal after 6. Now, guys, I'm fine with us calling it a period at the end of the number. That's fine with me because that's really what it's working like. And now what do I need to do?
You line up the 2 periods.
Okay, so I'm going to put 6 in front of the first decimal. And then for my second decimal, what goes in front?
2.
And what goes behind?
61.
61. All right, so this is a subtraction problem. Before I start subtracting, what do I need to add to it, Jason? Add the 2 zeros over the 6 and the 1. All right? So subtracting here, 0 minus 1. Can I subtract that? No. So I'm going to look next door to borrow. Can I borrow from 0? So I'm going to borrow from 6. What's 6 going to become? 5. And that can only pass next door. So now that middle 0 became 10. Now can I borrow from 10? So 10 is going to become 9, and it passes next door. So now I have 10 minus 1, which is? 9, and I kind of took care of all my borrowings. 9 minus 6 is? 3, and 5 minus 2 is? 3 as well. Make sure we bring our decimal down there straight in a line. Okay. Questions about number 13? All right, let's look at number 14. So this one is multiplication. What's my rule for multiplying decimals? What do I need to remember? Ethan? I don't need to use the decimal at all. I can just leave it out completely. All right, when I'm multiplying this, which number would be the best one to put on top, Jackson? The 64, because 8 just has a bunch of zeros. Multiplying by zeros, does that really do anything? No. So I'm going to put 64 on top without the decimal. And I'm going to put 8 underneath it, leaving out all those extra zeros in the front. Okay? So now we're going to multiply this. 8 times 4 is? 32. Carry my 3. 8 times 6 is? 48. Plus the 3? 51. Okay? Now I do need to worry about the decimal. How many decimal places should I have in my answer here? Tyler? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But when I start counting over, I only have 1, 2, 3 numbers. So what am I going to have to add, Jake? We're going to add a 0. Now be careful. Remember, when we count, we start from the end. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Add a 0 to create that fourth number and put the decimal in front. That 0 should be in front of the 5 because we're counting from the back over. All right, are there any questions about number 14? Could I put a 0 in front of the decimal? You could, but it doesn't need it. All right, number 15 is one we marked out and changed. Setting up my division. What's going to be at the door? What's going to be at the door? Isabella? Perfect. 2.5 is going to be at the door, which means 3.45 is in the house. All right, moving my decimal. How many places should I move my decimal here? Brianna? 1. Once at the door and once in the house. Make sure we raise that up to the roof between the 4 and the 5. Okay. Can 25 go into 3? No. So I'm going to put a little X there. Can 25 go into 34? How many times? Once. All right, so when I subtract 25, can I do 5 minus 4? No, so I borrow, that becomes 2. 14 minus 5 is 9, and the 2's went away. Bring down the... How many times will 25 go into 95? Jason? 3 times. 3 times 25 is like 3/4. That gives me 75 cents. 5 minus 5 is 0. 9 minus 7 is. So I have 20 left over. What do I need to do since I have something left over? What am I going to do here? Juanita? Add a 0 and bring it down. Guys, make sure your 1 is on top of the 4. Your 3 is on top of the 5. How many times will 25 go into 200? Gage? Huh?
9.
Micah? 8 times. Because if I have 8/4, that's $2, which equals 200 cents. 8 times 25 is 200. When I subtract, I get 0. All right, making sure that your decimal is between the 1 and the 3. Are there any questions on how I got my decimal there or where I got my numbers from? Okay. All right, number 16. Again, it's division, so let's set up our division symbol. What's going to be at the door here on number 16? What is at the door? What do you think, Griffin? What's going to be at the door? Yeah, the 0.002 is at the door, which means 7.5 is in the house. All right. How many times will I have to move my decimal, Jason? 3. So we're going to go over 1, 2, 3. If I do it at the door, it has to match. So I'll move it over. 1, 2, 3. What am I going to do to those empty places? Add a 0. Thank you, Jake. All right. So this problem has actually given people a little bit of trouble, and I think because it's so easy. Because what number am I dividing by now? 2. How many times will 2 go into 7? 3 times. 2 will go into 7, right? So we have to start with 7. 2 goes into 7 3 times. Put 3 on top of 7. 3 times 2 is? 6. When I subtract, I get? Bring down the 5. 2 will go into 15? 7 times. Make sure your 7 is on top of 5. 7 times 2? 14. When I subtract, I get? Bring down the 0. 2 will go into 10? 5 times. 5 times 2? 10. When I subtract, I get? 0. So if I bring down a 0, how many times is 2 going into 0? 0. Am I going to have anything left over? No, but we have to have a 0 on top of that empty space that we had in our answer area. All right. Are there any questions about number 16? All right. We're going to move over to 17, which is another lovely division problem. What's going at the door on number 17? Ethan? 0.4. So in the house, I'm going to have 0.81. Tyler, how many times am I going to have to move it over? Once at the door and once in the house. So make sure your decimal is in between the 8 and the 1, please. So now I'm just dividing 4. Can 4 go into 0? No, so I'm not going to put anything there. Can 4 go into 8?
Yes.
How many times? Twice. 2 times 4 is? When I subtract, I get? Let's bring down the... How many times will 4 go into 1? Do I have to write a number on top? Yes. We have to put a 0 on top of where that 1 would be. All right. Then I can add another 0 to bring down. How many times will 4 go into 10? Twice. So that 2 is going on top of 0. 2 times 4 is? When I subtract, I get? Now what? Add a 0 again. 4 will go into 20 how many times? 5. 5 times 4 is? And now nothing's left over. So now I am done. You have to have that 0 in the decimal there. Okay? Are there any questions about number 17? Do y'all see where I brought down 2 numbers? I have 2 numbers on top that match that. Okay? All right. Number 8, subtracting. What's my rule for subtracting? Micah? Line up the decimals. So 2.9, making sure my decimal is lined up. On the second number, what should be in front of the decimal? 0, and behind the decimal? 603. Before I subtract, do I need to add anything in here? Yes, Ethan? I need to add 2 zeros after the 9. All right, 0 minus 3. Can I do 0 minus 3? No, so I'm going to borrow. Can I borrow? No. So I go all the way to 9. 9 is going to become 8. I pass it next door. Now can I borrow from 10? 10 becomes 9, and I pass it next door. 10 minus 3 is? 9 minus 0? 9. 8 minus 6? And 2 minus 0? Make sure you keep your decimal in a straight line. Okay. Questions about 18? Questions about 18? All coming back to us pretty quickly, hopefully. All right, number 19, multiplying decimals. What's my rule for multiplying decimals? Tyler? Yeah, we're not even going to write the decimal. On number 9, I have a bunch of extra zeros there. I'm just going to write 539 times 13. I've left out my decimals and my extra zeros. If there was a 0 in the middle of a number, would I need to write it? Yes. All right, so 3 times 9 is? 27. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, just y'all, sometimes my brain starts malfunctioning too. Because I was not as quick as you. That's you said the right thing. My brain just was a little bit slower. All right, 3 times 3 is? 9 plus the 2. Carry the 1. 3 times 5 plus the 1. Okay. All right, so I'm done with the 1, done with the 2, done with the 3. Before I multiply the next number, what am I going to do? Isabella? Add a 0. 1 times 9. 1 times 3. 1 times 5. Let's add those up. 7 plus 0. 7. Make sure you can read your writing, guys. I had some people today that couldn't read their writing, so they were getting the wrong answer. They had it right, but they couldn't read the writing. Okay. 1 plus 9? 10. Carry your 1. 1 plus 6 plus 3? 10. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 5? So again, I've got my answer. Now I just need to check on my decimals. How many decimal places do I actually need on this problem? Griffin? 6. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Y'all see where I'm getting the 6 decimal places? Do I have 6 numbers? So let's be careful when we're counting, starting from the end. 1, 2, 3, 4. Add a 0 for 5 and add a 0 for 6, then I can put the decimal in front. Now do I have 6 numbers behind it? Yes. And that is my answer. Last one for us to do together is division. What number is going to be at the door? Juanita? 0.65, so 5.33 is in the house. How many times do I need to move my decimal, Mason? How many times do I need to move my decimal? Twice. And move it twice in the house and raise it to the... Alright, can 65 go into 5? Can 65 go into 53? Can 65 go into 533? Yes, but we don't know how many times. So because 65 is a larger number, it's not as easy to skip count, which means to keep adding it. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to multiply. What would be a good number for me to try multiplying? Isabella? We could do 3. Okay, 3 times 5 is 15. Carry my 1. 3 times 6 is 18 plus the 1. So I get 195. Probably need to go a little bit bigger than that. Am I on the screen? Okay, what's a good number to try? Ella? 9. So 65 times 9. 9 times 5 is? 45, carry my 4. 9 times 6 is 54, plus 4, 58. So that was much closer, but we went a little bit too big. So now what can we try, Mason? 8. 65 times 8. 8 times 5 is 40, carry the 4. 8 times 6 is, plus the 4, is 52.
Teachers and students, pardon this interruption. If anyone has a white Acadia, a gray CRV, or there's 2 trucks that have trailers attached to them, and you are in the bus line in the back, you need to move your vehicle immediately. Anyone that drives a white Acadia, a gray CRV, or a truck with a trailer in the back in the bus lane, you need to move your vehicle immediately. Thank you.
Alright, so we got 520 here, so I'm going to put 8 on top of the 3 for 533. 8 times 65 was 520. When I subtract, 3 minus 0 is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1, and the 5s go away. So I have 13 left over. What am I going to do to keep doing this problem, Ethan? Amelia? Add a 0 and bring it down. How many times will 65 go into 130? What's a good number to try? Jordan? 2 times. So 65 times 2. 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 6 is 12 plus the 1. So I get 130 exactly. So I'm going to put 2. 2 times 65 was 130. Do I have anything left over? So my answer is 8.2. All right. So for your homework, we should be finishing the other 10 problems. Also, remember, Friday, that coloring sheet is due. It'll be due at the beginning of class on Friday. If it's not ready at the beginning of class, it'll be late credit if you turn it into me by the end. Does that make sense? So it'll be due when you come in on Friday. If you turn it in at the end of class Friday, I'll take it. You'll still get points, but it'll be late. Okay?